So welcome back to Author's Corner. And I've been calling it Author's Corner, but really I've decided the name for this thing ought to be Book It, because we're going to talk about books. And the book we're talking about right now is the book by talented author Wayne Kuhn. His book is called Recharge. And we've spoken in the past episodes about taking advantage of the natural gifts that we're given and about a number of ways that we have positives and negatives in our lives, how those positives and negatives cycle up and down, dealing with highs and lows, recognizing our strengths and weaknesses. Wayne, I get the feeling that you believe people have a lot of influence when it comes to recharging ourselves. And you have a whole chapter in your book about a concept you call the kitchen table, and how sitting at that table with your family influenced you. Could you talk a bit about that, please?
Good, Bud, and great to hear you today. Yeah, let's talk a bit about the kitchen table, but back up, you made a comment about how people are influenced by ups and downs and that. And I think one of the things, and this will lead right into the kitchen table, one of the things that people need to realize is the external. Sometimes what happens is we allow the external to control how we feel. A good example is the weather. We haven't seen the sun for likely 2 weeks, and you can let that affect how you feel. If there's turmoil around you, stress around you, you can allow that to get in and affect how you feel. And so the idea is that you control the inside. You can't control the outside, but you can control the inside. And if you allow the outside to control your inside, then that's where your cycle is really out of whack. And all of a sudden if you let the environment control you, then you're not controlling your life. You're on a ride, and you're not the driver. So at the kitchen table now, where this came about is that it's documented facts is that we're very influenced in the first, some say 5, some say 6 years of our life. So visualize a sponge. You're 3 and 4 and 5 years old, and you're sitting at the table, and who is around your table? I'm not talking about the food, the dessert, or anything. I'm talking about the people that are around the table, the conversations that's going on around the table, whether it's an encouraging conversation or whether it's a nattering conversation. Whatever's happening around that kitchen table is directly affecting you. You are the sponge, the child. You do not discern. You just, whatever you hear, you take in. And this becomes your program. And after a while, this becomes you. And that's where the kitchen table kind of starts. And that's why I think it's paramount to who we are as to what happened around that kitchen table. And I guess the testimony to that is you hear a lot of horror stories. You hear a lot of abuse. You hear a lot of like I write in my book, like every kitchen table is different. I was very fortunate. I had good parents, or I still believe they're good parents. They obviously had limitations and they had paradigms themselves, and they passed that on to me. But generally really good. Well, a lot of kids didn't have that. Some kids didn't have 2 parents at the table. Some kids had step parents at the table. Some kids had grandparents at the table, and it goes on and on and on. So what happened around that kitchen table is very, very significant as to who you became. And the joke is, oh, you're just like your dad, right? And people go, no, I'm not like my dad. Well, let's not analyze that, but maybe that's where the expression came from.
That sounds right to me. Another thing that seemed to come out of your background, you mentioned the idea that your mother was nowadays is much more interested in having money available in the bank than she is in earning higher interest rates and getting better returns on her money. And you talk about how that attitude has influenced you as well. Why do you think that is the case?
Security. She taught, like, even as kids, we were taught to save. We were Christian people. We went to church. We heard about tithing. You may be familiar with that, where you put 10% of, give 10% of your church. We were kind of we did give the church, but there wasn't any rules around it, but we did believe in saving. And there was always a certain amount was put aside. And my mom was a big saver. And I remember asking my mom, why did you marry dad? Kind of an awkward question, but not that it was bad, but you figure out their mindset. And she said, because he was solid, like he was secure, and he had good values. And it wasn't like, oh, he was so handsome, and he swapped me off my feet. Like she likely had a calculator there and was figuring out net worth. Like. But anyway, so she was looking for security in that, and I believe that was passed on to me, and because I still feel comfort in a solid bank book sort of thing, and I have to really push myself to take risks, and that is all, I believe, traits that I developed or I picked up at the kitchen table, and those are things that I fight, I think, pretty well daily, to push myself to take risks and to do things outside of my comfort zone. Yeah.
It makes sense to have that kind of security, but also to recognize another phrase that I pulled out of that third chapter in your book is this statement: "Today is a new day." And it led me to think, there's more to this kitchen table thing than we've talked about already. Could you expand a little bit on those ideas?
Yes, and I think the aha moment when I was studying this and thinking about it and writing it was that, okay, bud, here you are, and you came from a kitchen table, which you had no control. When you're a child, you have no control of the environment or what's happening at that kitchen table, and you suck it in and you develop a program. Now, as an adult, you can make choices. And you can say, okay, I learned this is the kitchen table, but I want to change that. So, and now, as an adult, we've changed tables. Most of us have, anyway. And now here I am at a new kitchen table. Mom and dad aren't there. I'm the mom and dad. And I have little people or people around this kitchen table, and I decide. And so now that's a big responsibility, because the program that you're putting in the kids around the kitchen table may be some of that programming that you picked up as a child, good or bad. You might be passing it on. And all of a sudden you have to stop and say, whoa, is that the programming? Is that what I want to pass on to my future generation? Am I being the same jerk that my dad was at the kitchen table? Or am I better than that? And so it's an awareness thing. You need to stop life and ask yourself those questions. Say, hey, where do I want to go? And how do I want to get there? And what kind of a person am I? Am I the person that I need to be to get to where I want to go? Because my dad, he was an entrepreneur, but very low risk. And so that may be a trait that I don't want to take with me as I start a new business and want to develop a new foundation or whatever in a business world. So those are things that all more questions than answers, because each individual is different. And so, but the things to ponder and things to really grasp on. Did I answer your question? I missed it. I get excited sometimes when I get down that path sort of thing. But yeah, it's that yeah, it's your kitchen table now. And I joke a bit about some of us get hand-me-downs, and maybe some of us are still sitting at the same kitchen table that our mom or grandma had physically, but there's other people around.
Well, And I guess when tomorrow when we start talking about the box,
Yes.
we're going to actually explore some more of those ideas because and folks, make sure you come back to Book It tomorrow because Wayne's going to be talking about what kind of boxes you're sticking yourself into and getting into that kind of a concept. We've been talking to Wayne Kuhn, the author of Recharge,
Thank you,
and
bud.
you can pick up this book at Amazon. I actually logged onto Amazon yesterday looking for some Christmas gifts and just for the whatever I went in and put in the search Recharge and up came Wayne's book. So you can get it there very easily, or if you know Wayne personally, you can call him and he'll get you a copy. Or if you know me, I'll see to it you can get your hands on a copy. This is a great book if you're either starting a new business or if you're embarking on a sales career or if you're already in the middle of both of those things or either of those things. This is a book to get you recharged and get you starting to get things happening again. Wayne, it's been a pleasure
Good.
talking to you today,
Thank
and
you.
we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Thank you, bud. Thank you, bud. Have a great day. Take care.
Take care.